So I have been living in the Netherlands for a little over 9 months, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. For the first time since I moved here, I have been feeling homesick. A few weeks ago, I got hit with a sudden wave of homesickness that came out of absolute nowhere. Homesickness is not a feeling that I am accustomed to experiencing. As a matter of fact, I was very excited to leave home when I did, but I guess this is a part of the process. That said, I was so homesick that I actually considered moving back. In fact, I was very close to booking a one-way plane ticket for myself and my girlfriend to the US. Now, to prevent something like that from happening again, at least for the foreseeable future, I feel like it's important for me to put things into perspective for myself so that whenever I feel homesick like I have for the past few weeks, I can watch this video and remember why I moved here and why I was so excited to leave the US in the first place. That said, the first thing that I do not miss about the US is needing a car. Now this is location specific, to be fair. I am from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and if you've never been to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, literally just go on Google Maps, go to Street View, literally anywhere in the whole entire area, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. You cannot operate as a grown adult in the Dallas-Fort Worth area without a car. Now, thankfully, I'm in a financial position to be able to afford a car if I were to move back. If I moved back today, I could get a car tomorrow, paid in full cash. Maybe not a very nice car, not a BMW like I used to have, or not any sort of luxurious vehicle whatsoever, but I could probably get a Honda Civic, a Toyota Prius, something like that, and just pay it off in full and not have to worry about making car payments. However, it is still much cheaper to ride around on my 150 euro bike like I do here in the Netherlands. And as you can see, you really don't need a car simply because there are bike lanes everywhere. I don't know if you were able to see the bike lanes in the back over there, but I've said this in multiple videos. There are bike lanes pretty much anywhere. Literally, after you finish looking at the street view for the DFW area, go pretty much anywhere in the Netherlands. Literally anywhere. Pick a city and just go to street view and you will see a bike lane, if not right in that exact spot, somewhere very close. And like I said, it is very cost effective to be able to just ride the bike or take public transportation on the off chance that I do need to go somewhere that I can't get to via bicycle. In Dallas, you just need a car. Plain and simple. You can't use bike lanes because they don't exist. So that is the first thing that I do not miss about the US. The second thing that I do not miss about the US is the weather. Now listen, I've said this in multiple videos. Dutch weather is nothing to brag about at all. Dutch weather is not that good. It's cloudy a lot of the time. This is one of the rare sunny days that you'll see, probably once a week, if that. But I will take the cloudy, rainy, dreary weather of the Netherlands over the weather that I experienced back home, especially in Dallas. Now again, this is location specific. You can't really speak about the US as a monolith because the country is so big. Your experience in the DFW area will be completely different from your experience in Boston or Seattle, etc. But I'm speaking from my own personal experience. The weather in Dallas is the worst weather that I have ever experienced firsthand. The worst, bar none. Why is that? Well, primarily because of the heat. The heat is absolutely unbearable. Some people say that you get used to being in the heat after a few years of living there or whatever. I grew up there. I spent pretty much my entire childhood there from age 5 all the way to, age 23. I think I was 23 when I moved here to the Netherlands. I never got used to it. I never got used to the heat. And this might just be my own subjective experience. I don't have any statistics to back this up, but I feel like it's getting hotter and hotter every year. And there have been years where it literally would get above 110 degrees. I don't know what the exact conversion is as far as Celsius goes, but it gets so hot there that I literally just want to stay inside. So you look outside and you see a bunch of sunlight, but you can't actually go outside and enjoy it because it's too hot. So for me personally, that right there, just that alone is a deal breaker, because that heat brings with it a host of other issues. For example, if you have your own place, you're gonna run up your electricity bill because of the air conditioning. On top of that, it also makes you more prone, especially if you're someone like me, it makes you more prone to skin problems. I'm somebody that's dealt with skin problems in the past, and I feel like moving to the Netherlands and having a more moderate climate has helped me alleviate a lot of those issues. But if you're in a position where either you're in an extreme climate environment or the moderate temperatures don't help, then I have a solution for you, especially if you're somebody who struggles with acne. And that brings me to Tiege Hanley, the sponsor of today's video. Tiege Hanley has simplified skincare for men with their revolutionary Tiege Clear acne systems. Whether you've been battling acne for years or you're just starting out, these systems have everything you need to take control of your skin. If you're new to skincare, then I'd highly recommend that you start with the Level 1 Tiege Clear Acne Essentials. This powerful system includes all the essentials to combat acne effectively. First, we have the Salicylic Acne Face Wash. This is your go-to for washing off all the dirt, oil, and bacteria that get stuck in your pores throughout the day. It penetrates deep to clear acne at the source. Next are the Glycolic Pads. These are easy to use, pre-soaked pads that gently exfoliate your skin. They help get rid of dead skin cells, minimize your pores, and reduce blackheads. And finally, there's the Acne Serum. This is your secret weapon. It fights acne-causing bacteria, reduces redness, and helps your skin recover, making it stronger to prevent future breakouts. And here's the best part. Over 80% of men who use the Tiege Clear systems saw better results for their acne within 2 months. It's specifically made for men's skin, which tends to be thicker, oilier, and more prone to irritation from shaving. So it's tailored to tackle those challenges that a lot of other brands overlook. The instruction card in every box makes it so easy to follow, and I genuinely get excited to use this every day. People around me are noticing a difference in my skin, and my confidence has really skyrocketed. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring this video, they're offering an amazing deal just for you. Just click the first link in the description or the pinned comment to get 40% off your first Tiege Clear Acne Systems box and a free gift. Click the link in the description and start your journey to clear and confident skin today. Now, aside from the heat, we also have tornadoes, we have the occasional blizzard or ice storm. You probably didn't hear about it if you're from the Netherlands, but back home a few years ago, we had a really bad ice storm and the whole city pretty much got shut down. A lot of people died, the power was out, people's water taps were frozen so they didn't have running water. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad because the infrastructure is not meant to deal with that. But I'm saying this to say that Dallas in particular, and really a lot of the United States, is the land of extremes, and the weather is no exception to that. The tornadoes, the thunderstorms, occasionally I do miss the thunderstorms, but we have those here too, every once in a while, just often enough for me to not really miss them. But I definitely do not miss the tornadoes, I don't miss the heat, I don't miss the lack of infrastructure to deal with snow and or ice whenever we do get it, which seems to be increasingly common. And with global warming, I can only imagine that the extremes are going to get a lot worse. Now, speaking of extremes, the next thing that I do not miss about the US is the cost of living. Now, this might be a very controversial one because truthfully, if you look at it as a ratio of income, at least average income to average expenditures, I'm sure it's really not that different being in the US compared to the Netherlands. As a matter of fact, you might come away a little bit better in a state like Texas where you don't have state income taxes. However, I'm in a position where my income is the same literally no matter where I go. Okay, I can be in China, Russia, the Netherlands, Texas, it doesn't really matter. My income is going to be the same. Therefore, the cost of living for me is an absolute. It's not relative to my income. Well, I guess it is relative to my income, but my income isn't going to change because of where I live. Me living in the Netherlands means that I get to pocket more of my money. I guess with taxes, it might offset some of that difference, but with the self-employment tax in the US, I would imagine that at the very worst, I'm breaking even for a higher quality of life. In the US, pretty much everything that I can think of is more expensive. If my memory serves me correctly, pretty much everything that I could think of was more expensive, with the exception of maybe car ownership, which again, you don't need a car here because you have public transportation and bike lanes. You literally can go your whole life without ever getting your license. But back home, for one, you need a car, so that right there increases the cost of living by a lot. Okay, if you've never had a car, trust me when I tell you that having a car is one of the most expensive investments that you can make, and it literally just depreciates. So you're just losing money the longer you have it, and at best, it can maybe get you to a job where you can make the money back, but because I can work from wherever I want, I don't need a car. But again, in Dallas, I would need a car just to run the most basic errands. So you can see how just that right there is a very poor trade-off for someone like me. But aside from car ownership, the cost of food, that's one of the first things that I noticed when I moved here and when I visited Spain last year, was that the cost of groceries is much, much lower here than it is back home, especially in a place like LA. But even in Dallas, I personally was spending $100 a week plus for just myself. Now, granted, I probably could have done a lot better than that, but the point is, groceries here are generally cheaper than they are in the US. They are actually substantially cheaper, especially for food that is actually healthy. Maybe when you get into more of the processed food, it might be pretty similar, but for healthy foods, the prices here are cheaper. And I know this because my girlfriend and I go grocery shopping every week, and we on average spend roughly, I would say, 80 to 90 euros for both of us for a week's worth of food. So just keep that in mind. It is literally cheaper for my girlfriend and I to grocery shop for both of us here than it is for me to grocery shop for myself back home. And for the few months that I spent in LA, it was even worse. Okay, I was living on canned food, and I was still spending more for myself than we spend for both of us here in the Netherlands. Now, another component of the cost of living, and another reason why I don't miss the US, is the cost and difficulty of traveling to other places. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, interstate travel is relatively easy. There's a complex interstate system that allows you to drive pretty much anywhere you want to go in the US, but again, you need a car for this. Here in the Netherlands, and really in Western Europe as a whole, you don't need a car to travel. If you account for the fact that you don't need a car payment, or you don't need to spend $10,000 cash to get a car, you come away a lot better here. As a matter of fact, my girlfriend and I, we are taking a trip to London at the end of this week for 300 euros for the both of us. 300 euros. Accommodation, transport, it's all taken care of. 300 euros for both of us to go to London, an entirely different city in an entirely different country. In the US, unless you live near the border, you are not going to be able to take an international trip for $300. Period. 300, 400, 500. Most of my friends, most people that I know, have not been outside of the country. Most people that I know back home in the US have never left the US. Most people, or pretty much everyone that I know here in the Netherlands, has left the Netherlands at least once in their lives to go to a different country. And a big part of this is simply because everything is closer together. If you live in the Netherlands, you live near a border because the country is so small. The country is 3 hours, maybe 4 hours with traffic across the whole entire country. No matter where you live in the country, you live near a border, which means that you have very close access to other countries. Plural, countries, multiple countries. We've already been to Belgium, my girlfriend and I vlogged that a few months back. Like I said, we're about to go to London, and I do plan on vlogging that, hopefully. And really, there are so many places that we can go just because they're all so close. To put this into perspective, the distance from here in the Netherlands, where I live at least, to Valencia, Spain, is roughly the same distance as Dallas-Fort Worth to Los Angeles. It's roughly the same distance. Dallas to LA, they are different cities, but they're similar enough to never mistake them for being in a different country. The Netherlands and Spain, Valencia, Spain in particular, that's the place that I have experience with, are entirely different worlds. Different languages, different cultures, different architecture. Everything is completely different. Your day-to-day life will be vastly, dramatically different. And you can cover that distance for a very low price. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, my girlfriend spent less than 200 euros when she moved from the Netherlands to Valencia for her internship last year. Less than 200 euros to go to Spain. Absolutely unbelievable. Okay, that right there, to go to a different country from Dallas, maybe Mexico you can get away with a cheap flight like that, but pretty much anywhere else you're gonna be paying way more than that. Like I said, most people that I know back home have never even left the country because it's so expensive that it's pretty much seen as something that only wealthy people or well-off people do. Whereas here, it is the norm. I feel like here, I don't have any statistics to back this up, but I'd imagine that here, even people who are financially challenged still go on international trips because it's so cheap and accessible and because things are so close. And for those that have a car, you can literally just take a road trip to a place like Belgium or France or Switzerland within 10 hours. Poland even. There are all these countries that are within a one-day drive. Within a one-day drive, you can get to multiple different countries from the Netherlands, especially because the Netherlands is centrally located. Dallas-Fort Worth and the US as a whole is pretty isolated from everything else. So if you want to get to anything noteworthy, expect to take at least a 3-hour flight. Minimum 3 hours. If we were to fly to London, we're taking a bus and the ferry, I think, the bus to the boat, that's going to be an experience. But if we were to fly to London, hypothetically, I'm pretty sure it would be an hour and some change. Definitely wouldn't be 3 hours like it would be from Dallas to a place like New York or LA or Chicago or anywhere else like that. So just to put that into perspective, traveling is much cheaper here and much easier. And that is something that I do not miss about the US, is the difficulty and the cost of traveling. Now, the last thing that I do not miss about the US, and this is where the video might start to get really controversial. This is where I might have to disable the comments. The last thing that I do not miss about the US is politics. Politics, the political climate in the US is extremely, extremely toxic. Now, to be fair, I've never lived in an authoritarian state or anywhere that we didn't have the right to vote, so I know that it can get a lot worse. Okay, I am aware that the US, comparatively speaking, is still a first world country, and you could do a lot worse than that. But you could also do a lot better, and the Netherlands is one place that, in my opinion, does things much better than the US. And the reason why is I don't believe that politics are a divisive tactic here in the Netherlands. In the US, everything feels like it's about marketing. As I've learned more and more about marketing in the past year and a half, 2 years, I've realized that politics are literally just marketing. That's all it is. And really, for all of the marketing that these politicians do, what kinds of changes are they really enacting? I don't know, because I'm not there. But I do know that at the time that I left, I came to the conclusion that, hey, maybe the politicians don't actually have the best interest of people like you and me in mind. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know. But here, I don't even have to question that. It's not even a question. There's no room for debate. Politicians here, in my opinion, just based on what I see and what I experience, as far as the quality of life goes, the politicians here do have the primary agenda of making this country better and serving the people that they lead, if you will, the people that they represent here in the Netherlands. They might have different ways of going about that, but I believe that the goal is the same, to make the country better. Back home in the US, I truly don't feel like that is the goal. I feel like there are agendas. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, by the way. I'm not somebody who goes down that sort of rabbit hole because, quite frankly, I don't care. I'm apolitical. I'm neither conservative nor liberal. I am completely apolitical. I'm not red, blue, purple, nothing. I'm white, black, it doesn't matter. I'm not a political person. But back home in the US, politics are so invasive, pervasive. I don't even have any other adjectives to describe them. They're just very taboo. Politics shouldn't be a taboo topic that could end friendships and relationships, but that is the case back home. That is the case. A lot of times, people who are conservative or liberal will not be friends or will not even interact with people from the other side because they disagree with them, which to me makes absolutely no sense. Because how are you supposed to find a nice middle ground without having productive discourse? I don't know. That's not a problem for me to solve because I don't live there anymore. Granted, it's still possible that I can move back, as I learned a few days ago when I literally was about to click confirm order on the plane tickets, where we already got the seats and the check bags and everything. But if I do move back and if I take my girlfriend with me, it will not be for the politics. It will not be for the traveling. It will not be for the cost of living or the weather. It won't be for any reason that I've listed in this video.